I, 40 female, have been married to my husband, 44 male, for 20 years now. We have 2 kids, 16 female and 13 male. My husband is what I would consider a high earner by middle-class standards. Also, strap in, folks. This is going to be long. I've never told anyone, so... Tell her. My husband cheated on me. I dragged the guilting for almost a decade, then ruined his life and chased him out of town. 10 years ago, and by complete coincidence, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me with men, and that from before we got married, we live in a small-ish town in the south of the USA. Him coming out as gay will have consequences. I believe that that is the only reason he has not come out to anyone. First, here's how I found out he was cheating on me. He got sloppy, left a credit card bill for a secret card in the pocket of a coat. While going through it, I found all the telltale signs of infidelity. Payments to a hotel in a nearby county, restaurant bills, gifts, flowers, condoms, and lubricant, etc. I started camping outside the hotel on days he told me he would be late, and I saw him bringing different men there. I am very good at compartmentalization and have a great poker face. Comes with growing up in an abusive household, so I was able to give myself the time to cool off and to come up with what I should do. First thing I did was getting an STD panel, since I didn't know how safe he was with his partners. It came out negative. Then I convinced him that we should use condoms since I was having side effects from the pill. He was okay with it. I had a long think, and I came up to the decision that I was not going to confront him, nor was I going to leave him. He was able to provide me a really good lifestyle, one that I would never be able to afford with my high school diploma. A cleaning lady, a nanny to help with the kids, regular spa days and a country club, a new car every other year, luxury family vacations every year. He was a good dad, a good partner, the cheating aside, and really good in bed. But I was not going to let him have a single guilt-free week in his life. That would be my revenge. I started small, planning great date nights for us, telling him that I felt our relationship has cooled, that I wanted the spark back. Then I would sometimes slip into conversation some tea about a cheating husband, a gasp gay man that has been using his poor wife as a beard, complimenting the only gay couple we know for having the courage of being real men who were out and proud of themselves. On the other hand, I would praise him as the perfect husband to anyone and everyone, especially if he was in earshot. The amount of guilt gifts I got was astounding. The man was even sending me flowers weekly. It continued the same way for years. I could literally see how much it was weighing on him. Me, well, my parents were part of a commune with the concept of free love. I was the same. I just considered myself in an open marriage. It seems that cheating is easier to ignore if you are not that big on monogamy in the first place. And my husband was keeping me satisfied, so I felt no need to find a partner of my own. Then, 4 years ago, I guess he met the love of his life. He started seeing just the one guy. I was seriously thinking of ending the whole thing, especially since I have started a business by then and was able to bring in enough money to support myself and my kids while maintaining my lifestyle. But then he went and introduced his side piece to us. He brought him into our house, introduced him to our kids, and that was enough for me to keep tormenting him. Apparently, he was a new friend he made while golfing. He started hinting at moving to another state, one where it would be easier for him to come out. I refused. I told him that my business was here and I was not going to start over in another state. Also, the kids had their friends and extended family here. It would be unfair to uproot them. Then he started trying to start arguments. I guess he wanted us to fight, then for me to ask for a divorce. I just stopped all those arguments in their tracks. I would just agree with whatever he said. He was right, I was wrong. And to make it up to him, how about a nice dinner and some great sex? He hated that. I knew from spying on his phone that having sex with me felt like cheating on his boyfriend, the audacity of this man. I also knew that his boyfriend was pressuring him to leave me almost every day. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He started drinking, and when it got too heavy, that was when I decided that enough was enough. I wanted to ruin his life, not his health. Also, I grew up with an alcoholic father and did not want that for my kids. So I gathered all the evidence of his infidelity over the last 9 years, photos with different men, conversations, his Grindr profile, even though he no longer had one, everything. Then I hired a divorce attorney and mailed the evidence to his employer. He has a morality clause in his contract and adultery breaks it. All his relatives, including parents, as well as our church, I was never big on religion like him. It was like a bomb exploded. He was fired. The congregation turned on him for cheating, not for being gay. Let's keep that straight. I would never allow my kids to be part of a church that discriminated against their father, even if he was not out. His parents wouldn't take him in after I kicked him out, and he was shamed publicly. Gotta love that small-town gossip mill. And the cherry on the top. His boyfriend was run out of the town, and he couldn't follow him because he wanted to fight for custody of our kids. Now, almost a year later, I am a free woman. I got to keep the house, my car, and my business. He got 75% of the retirement and investments accounts, but he won't be paying alimony. I got full custody. He got visitations. I also got child support. He had to move 6 hours away to find a new job. Couldn't put the last job he worked at his whole life as a reference. His relationship with his family is rocky. His reputation in town is ruined, so he can't move back anytime soon. The love of his life left him for good, and my kids only tolerate him because I did my best to shield them and to tell them that he is still a good father to them. I also made sure to treat him politely, never talked bad about him, and had a lengthy talk about how their father being gay is okay, it's who he is, and that it was not his fault, that the only wrong thing he did was hiding it from me. So I guess the results of his cheating was years of guilt, followed by a ruined life. My name is Sarah. I'm 26 years old, and I have always been a big believer in treating people with kindness and respect. But sometimes people can push you too far, and that's when you have to stand up for yourself. This is the story of how I got my petty revenge on a group of mean girls in my neighborhood. It all started when I moved to this new neighborhood a few months ago. I was excited to meet new people and make friends, but it didn't take long for me to realize that the group of girls who lived down the street were not friendly. They were all around my age, but they acted like they were still in high school, always gossiping and making fun of people. At first, I tried to be friendly with them, but they never gave me the time of day. Then, one day, I overheard them talking about me behind my back. They were making fun of my clothes and my hair, and I felt so hurt and embarrassed. I decided that I wasn't going to let them get the best of me. I started to plan my revenge. It wasn't going to be anything too drastic, just something to show them that I wasn't going to take their bullying lying down. A few days later, I was walking my dog, Charlie, when I saw the group of girls walking towards me. I decided to put my plan into action. "Hey, Sarah," one of the girls said with a smirk. "What are you wearing? It looks like something my grandma would wear." I took a deep breath and smiled. "Actually, I wanted to show you something," I said, holding up my phone. "I've been taking a photography class and I wanted to show you some of my pictures." The girls rolled their eyes, but I could tell they were curious. I showed them a few pictures I had taken of the neighborhood, including some of them walking their dogs and hanging out at the park. "These are really good," one of the girls said, looking impressed. "How did you get these shots?" "I used a telephoto lens," I said with a smile. "It's amazing what you can capture when you take the time to look." From that day on, the girls started to treat me differently. They were still snarky from time to time, but they also started to include me in their conversations and invite me to hang out with them. I even started to teach them some photography tricks. It wasn't the most epic revenge story, but it felt good to turn the tables on them and show them that I wasn't just some pushover. Sometimes a little bit of kindness and skill can go a long way. Years ago, I was in the early stages of dating my ex-M. Now, M was going to school for computer science at the time. This was his second degree, now at a different school with a gap in between. He originally went to school for archaeology, but struggled to find a job in his field. We worked together at an answering service, and it was a really crappy job that we both hated. We circled each other for a few years as friends, then finally made the physical jump and started dating. I personally don't like to share my partner. No judgment for those that do, but it's not for me. M was aware of this since we had talked about it a lot, and he was around when a previous ex cheated on me. He told me he was going to New York City for the weekend to hang out with some archaeology friends from school that were visiting from the UK. I have one relationship rule that is unbreakable. You can do almost anything that you want to, but don't lie to me. If I find out after that something happened, that is the line you just can't cross. When he got back, he looked exceptionally guilty. So when I asked him about it, he admitted that friends was actually only one friend who he cheated on me with. We still had to work together, so my response was, well, that sucks and is a deal breaker for me, but we can go back to being friends, and I did actually mean it. M and the UK girl start a long-distance relationship. M starts making a plan to build a life with this girl, which, of course, means he needs to find another job. My mom at the time is the VP of technical support for a software company with several job openings. As we have been friends for years, he knows my mom well, so if he applied, it was almost a guarantee that he gets the job. Now, I know at this time that one of those positions is earmarked to be trained in the U.S. office, then sent to the new UK support office the company is trying to open. I suggest to M that he apply at my mom's employer, but I don't divulge that there is a UK plan in place for one of them. My thought was that if he got hired, that would be a thing he could push for, but I wanted him to get the job for himself, not for the girl. M is still my friend, and let's face it, I am not really a fan of the girl at this point, so while I don't want to help them, I do want him to be happy. In one of the classic blunders, he chooses not to apply for the job. About 6 months later, they break up because, wow, she cheated on him with someone local. At this point, M has just finished his degree and decides to forward his resume to my mom and gets the job. About a week after getting hired, he mentioned to my mom about the girl and that he was trying to move over there to be with her. She replies, "Pity you didn't apply sooner. We were looking to fill a UK position with someone from here." It was at that moment he knew, no, only that I was trying to help, but that I left out a key piece of information about the posting. We were friends for many more years until life took us in different directions, but every drunk night he loved to bring up how I ruined his life and cost him his dream job. My response was always the same, well, you started it when you lied. Back in the early 2000s, I had a very misogynistic boss. He didn't think women should be in the workplace because they were too emotional. I am female, so he would deliberately try to downplay my role in things, block my ability to advance, and even blocked me from leaving the department. He was on the lowest rung of the good old boy club too, so he had pull that he shouldn't have had. Our company had been all male for a long time until the last 5 years, so there was a lot of misogyny. I did a lot of work he should have been doing. He'd get a project from high command, then slide it down to me. I would have to do it and give it back, and he'd take credit for it. I'm not much of a look at me kind of gall at work, so I just put my head down and do my work and don't cause problems. He took full advantage of that. Unfortunately for him, he didn't realize that Excel and Word have this nifty function that tells you not only who edited the document, but who created it. And it cannot be overwritten unless you copy the whole thing and put it in a brand new document. Guess who was too lazy to do that? I had been doing the debt billing work for a couple years for him. I would just do our monthly report on the charges we should be passing to the client, give it to him, and he'd pass it into accounting like his own, without even looking at it. One day, the president was doing the fiscal budget and realized that our department was losing money hand over fist, but yet we were saying we should have been making a lot of money. So, President dug deeper and called my boss into the office to have a chat about the numbers. Boss couldn't answer any of the president's questions because, surprise, he hadn't been doing it. After he sent my boss back to his desk because he wasn't getting the answers he was looking for, the president called IT, and they told him exactly how to find out who actually wrote it, and I got a phone call to the president's office. I was able to answer all the questions and even point out some things I had noticed. It was a problem with the salesman dropping our charges to make themselves look good to the client, which is fine once in a while, but they were all doing it all the time. President thanked me profusely, and as I was walking out, I heard him call my boss and say my office now. As I was walking back to my desk, I passed my boss in the hall, who looked panicked and scared. I just smiled. He didn't get fired, but he did get removed from all the projects. It was directly to me after that, and he hated it. He also got pushed aside in the club because he got caught out and they wouldn't tolerate that kind of thing. I got laid off because the new owners were dismantling the company about a year after this. No great loss. Sometimes it just pays to be the quiet one.